Well, wasn't that just brilliant? Wasn't that just absolutely fantastic? That is why we love the Hurling Championship, and in particular the Munster Hurling Championship. I mean, that was an end-to-end game, a breathtaking game of hurling, a game that going down the home stretch really could have went either way. But in the end, it's Limerick who complete a historic five in a row, just the second ever county in Munster Championship history to win 5 Munster Senior Hurling Championships in a row. The other team was Cork. They did it in the 1980s, and they also did it in the early 1900s as well. Absolutely incredible game of hurling. And look, Clare could have probably had a free at the end, in fairness, to level the game up. And in fairness, we've seen them given on more than one occasion in big championship matches. But I think ultimately Clare can only blame themselves here. They had so many chances to win this game. After they got that goal in the first half, you felt like it was there for them. Limerick, their head sort of went towards the end of the half. Clare must have turned them over 4 or 5 times in a row. There was a chance from Ryan Taylor, like just a couple of meters in front of the goal. He put it wide. He could have easily set up Tony Kelly for a goal. And there was even a chance not long after that Nicky Quaid made a fantastic save from. The chances were there for Clare to win this game, in my opinion. And, this is what, for me, when people look at Limerick winning 5 in a row, or Limerick winning the 5 Munsters in a row, winning 4 All-Irelands in a row, which they will do if they obviously go on to win the All-Ireland this year. People talk about the skill, the talent levels of this Limerick team. People look at Cian Lynch, they look at Aaron Gillan, Grode Hegarty, they look at Jeremy Burns, Tom Morrissey, Shamie Flanagan. And whilst these are all brilliant, skillfully, fantastic hurlers, John Coyley has proven himself to probably be the best manager in the history of hurling since Brian Cody, and Paul Kinnerk obviously in there as well as his assistant. But what people are forgetting is what happens up here, the mental aspect. I feel like I've watched that game so many times over the last 4 or 5 years, so many times where teams have had chances to beat Limerick. They've had opportunities. How many times in the last 4 or 5 years have Limerick come out on top with a 1-point win? Yes, you might look at refereeing decisions, you might look at luck, you might look at this or that, but in my opinion, it's just that mental aspect. Clare had chances when the game was at 2 points going down the home stretch to bring it back. They had chances when it was 1 point. They had so many opportunities to go and obviously win the match. But it's that mental aspect. It's that mentality. And for me, that's what separates the good teams and the great teams. And that's what separates this Limerick side. This Limerick team aren't, Limerick have beaten Clare this year. They beat them last year in the Munster final. And Clare obviously beat Limerick in the Munster round robin this year. Limerick aren't necessarily a better team than Clare, but mentally they have what it takes going down the home stretch. They have the composure. They have that mental fortitude within themselves to see out these games. And for me, that's what separates the good teams and the great teams. And that is why Limerick have won the Munster Senior Hurling Championship of 5 in a row, which is absolutely extraordinary. Well-deserved for Limerick in the end. Look, this was a game that, I don't think there was really a deserved winner. I think the fair result probably would have been a draw and then extra time. But look, Limerick on the basis of being able to see out those final couple of minutes, to take their chances more so than Clare, I think ultimately is how they won the game and completed this 5 in a row. So this is the match reaction. Limerick have done it. 5 in a row champions. Let's go. Welcome back to GA Fan TV. This is the instant match reaction. As we were saying there, Limerick 123, Clare 122. Limerick are the Munster Senior Hurling Champions. They have beaten Clare in the end by a point. And by goodness me, this was an absolutely titanic Munster final. And you just love the Munster Championship, don't you? I mean, seeing the fans there, the crowd, it was absolutely packed to a brim. Every seat was full. It nearly looked like, there was more people in there than probably should have been in there. It was just absolutely brilliant. The fans as well loving an early pitch invasion and everything. It would have looked a little bit funny if Clare had have maybe gotten an equaliser with some Limerick fans already on the pitch thinking they'd won, albeit there probably was a bit of confusion with the referee. It did look like he actually blowed the whistle, in fairness, before that last puck out. But yeah, what a result in the end. And I suppose, as Meadman says here, questions have to be asked from the referee at the end. But to be honest, Clare shooting, lost in the game, nothing else. Yeah, look, I mean, interesting to see the decisions back. Like, looked like a heavy hit from, I think it might have been Peter Casey on Tony Kelly. Did look like Tony Kelly really made the most of it, but it was a forward sort of hit out on his chest, so probably was a free. And then it looked like there was an incident after that as well. So yeah, I think Clare fans can be a little bit aggrieved about that decision, but I think at the same time, if Clare fans are honest with themselves and the Clare management, Brian Lohan, and the players are honest with themselves, they will look at those missed chances towards the end of the first half, the start of the second half, and even when this game was in the melting pot going down the home stretch. And like, that's just what separates Limerick a lot of the time from these other teams, is that they just have it within them. They know how to win these games. They know how to grind out these games, even when they're not at their brilliant best. And I don't think Limerick were necessarily at their best today. I thought there was moments in the game where they were fantastic, but I thought there was moments in the game as well where they did, they're shooting in the first half themselves is a little bit sluggish. They were being turned over consistently in the first half. Like, they showed the graphic on RT at halftime. Like, Clare had doubled the amount of turnovers of Limerick. And even like towards the end of the first half, I genuinely felt like Clare could have been 7 or 8 points up at halftime. After that, they got that goal. Tony Kelly hit a point straight after that. And like, Limerick just could not settle at all. It looked like they needed the halftime whistle to come as soon as possible, because Clare just had them on the absolute ropes. And you felt like there was another goal in it for Clare at that moment in time. But they didn't take their chances, just poor decision making. And it gave Limerick a bit of a lifeline, didn't it? 3 points down going into the second half. You knew if Limerick could kick into gear, they would slowly get themselves back into the game. And ultimately, that's what they done. Aaron Gillan, sensational performance from him, 1-11. I said during the week, I predicted him to be my player of the week, and I think he very much has lived up to that, in fairness. A rare prediction I got right, so sure, look, we got to take them when they come. But yeah, it was a sensational performance from him. Young Keane Nolan, who was obviously picking him up, I think that the change should have happened at halftime, in my opinion, to take Keane Nolan off him and put someone else on him. But Aaron Gillan is just like, he's unmarkable in many ways when he's in that level of form. And I thought he was absolutely fantastic. Like, brilliant turn for the goal, puts it in the back of the net. Like, Limerick just have clutch players. And the thing about Limerick is that sometimes these players don't, like, through the Munster round robin, you mightn't hear too much about them. They might be a little bit quiet, or they mightn't have hit form. But when it gets to a Munster final, an All-Ireland semi-final, an All-Ireland final in Gerard Hegarty's case, they just turn it on and switch it on. And they just have what it takes. They just have like those small margins. And sport is a game of small margins. But how many games? Like, I think Limerick last year won 4 or 5 games in the championship by a 1-point margin. And again, like, there was a moment against Cork, let's not forget, a couple of weeks ago, they looked like they were heading out of the championship. And now they've won the 5 in a row. Like, it's extraordinary to think. And 6 in a row, the first ever team in Munster. It could happen next year. It really, really could. There is frailties in this Limerick side. They can be good at. Discipline is a bit of an issue. We've seen Gerard Hegarty in the first half hit out a little bit. I think a yellow card probably was the fair decision, in fairness. But how many times, have we seen him get sent off, or Limerick be caught in a spot of butter with discipline? So there is vulnerabilities there. They're not the perfect team by any stretch of the imagination. I think the likes of Kilkenny, even Clare could easily play Limerick again at some point in this championship. They'll play the winners of Carlow Dublin. Even as a Dublin fan, I don't think we'll come anywhere near this Clare side, to be honest with you, in Croke Park. I think Clare will wipe the floor with us. So Clare will get back into an All-Ireland semi-final, and they'll play essentially the winner of the Leinster final. Could be a repeat of the Kilkenny game again. And Clare are a great team. They're a good team. They have great players. Like, Tony Kelly was quiet enough in the first half, started to come into life in the second half. 6 points for him. Mark Rogers, young hurler who's come into the side, 1-2, obviously gets the goal in the first half. A little bit lucky, obviously comes off the post. But at the same time, I think it's awareness, isn't it? When the ball comes off the post, you need to be quickest to it. And how many times have we seen that, by the way, in hurling, in football, where shots hit the post, or an old fashioned Gary Owen comes into the square. It's just who's quickest to it, who's alert, and who has the sharpness to get there. And in fairness to Mark Rogers, he did. Shane O'Donnell, 2 points from him. Aidan McCarthy with 4 points. Obviously went off in the second half as well. Aaron Shanahan, who came on, got a score. Ian Galvin with 2 points. Clare, Davy Fitzgerald in midfield, thought was fantastic, in fairness. So Clare have more than enough players to make that step up and win an All-Ireland, but it's just those fine margins, and it's hard to describe or hard to explain, but it's just those small percentages that Limerick get right, and that's the difference between them and a lot of teams. Kilkenny last year, Kilkenny didn't play poor in that final last year. Kilkenny were very good, but Limerick just have that edge. They win it no matter how they need to win it. They find a way, and Clare done so much right today. It was just the shooting that let them down, and I think it is that mental aspect of the sport, in my opinion. It's the same with Dublin when they won 6 in a row. In those games against Mayo, Kerry, the 5 in a row game in 2019. As much as you look at brilliance and skill and quality and tactics and systems and everything else, it's just having that composure, having that willpower in front of goal that sometimes is the difference between winning those type of games and losing those type of games. But there we go. Gavin says, will Limerick be the Dublin of Munster hurling and take over the province? Well, yeah, look, they've won 5 in a row, but in fairness, there's a lot of very good teams in Munster. And when you look at it, Dublin won a lot of those Leinster championships. I know it's a bit closer now, but Dublin win a lot of Leinster championships with their eyes closed, really. Whereas Limerick, if you blink, you're beaten. Do you know what I mean? Limerick nearly went out of the Munster championship in that game against Cork a couple of weeks ago. So, but yeah, it's to win 5 in a row is extraordinary, considering the teams they've had to beat as well. It's mental, really, and it's definitely, in my opinion, one of the greatest GAA achievements of all time. If they do go on to do 6 in a row, that will be extraordinary. John says, great game. That was a high challenge. Should have been a free. In my opinion, Clare didn't take the chances, and a couple of times went for goal rather than take the points. Yeah, and that's it, isn't it? It's game management in some ways, or sort of decision making. In the final, when Clare were 3-4 points, 5 points down, going into the final, sort of 6-7 minutes, they look like a team that were already beaten. It looked like a team that were focused too heavily and going for goals. It was only 4 or 5 points. Isn't that big of a gap in hurling, to be honest with you? You can make that distance up quite quickly, and in fairness, they nearly did. And they were throwing long balls in and around the square. They're trying to work goal chances, trying to get that goal when probably wasn't on. And I think maybe there was an element of panic a little bit about Clare in the final 10 minutes, which again is what probably separates a team like Limerick, who've been there and done it, and a team like Clare, who haven't won a Munster title since 1998. And obviously there's a few All-Ireland winners in that Clare team since 2013, but they are few and far between, if we're being perfectly honest. So there we go. Aaron Glan is a class act. Any talk of Limerick being split in two because of their dominance? Yeah, look, I'm sure there will be detractors online, and there always is, in fairness. A couple of bad wides cost Clare the game. Limerick v Clare All-Ireland final. Clare will be hard to beat in games to come. Yeah, look, I think Clare, I think Kilkenny is the other. I think it's between Limerick, Clare and Kilkenny. I think the All-Ireland will come from one of them three, in my opinion. Look, be interested to see how Galway do today. Haven't always been convinced by Galway, but a big win today and a big performance today, and we could easily, we could change our mind. They do have a lot of very good players, Galway, as well, in fairness. Don't think Tipperary are a million miles away as well. They're probably going under the radar ever so slightly. But yeah, I think it's there for Clare. It definitely is there for Clare to get to an All-Ireland final. As I said, they barring something miraculous, they should be Dublin or Carlow in the All-Ireland quarterfinals. And then a semi-final, it will be tough, if they come up against a Kilkenny or, Galway, if Galway win as well. So there we go. Were you doing a watch along for the Munster final? Also, the late Teddy McCarthy, rest in peace. Rest in peace to Teddy McCarthy, obviously absolute icon of the sport, and both football and hurling. And I've seen a lot of the sort of videos that went around social media at his funeral and everything else. So obviously, great to see some of the respects being paid to an icon of the sport. And to answer your question about the Munster final, I didn't do a watch along in the end, mainly just because I just wanted to sit back, enjoy the game, listen to the commentary, and enjoy it. And it was an absolute cracking game. In fairness, it was a brilliant game. And what a win for Limerick. In fairness, but look, for Clare, it's a tough one to take. It's a back-to-back Munster final defeats to your big rivals when, you beat them earlier in the year as well. You felt like you got that monkey off the back. But Clare do have what it takes to get back to an All-Ireland final at some point, whether it is Limerick. You'd imagine Limerick should be strong enough to get to a final. They are capable of beating this Limerick side. They just need to make better decisions in the final third, keep their composure, and just have a bit more belief in themselves. Felt like they were lacking that ever so slightly at times. It was almost like when they got that goal and they went 4 points up, it was almost like they were like, sort of subconsciously, they were thinking in the back of their heads, we have them. Limerick are on the ropes here. We need to capitalise. And they just panicked and made the wrong decisions. And it was like in a boxing match where you've got a heavyweight boxer who's been unbeaten for years. All of a sudden his guard is down and, he's just been waiting to be knocked out. But you're sort of mentally thinking in the back of your head, like, oh my goodness me, I have it here. This is it. This is the moment I've worked so hard for. So yeah, just mad. But there we go. Teddy McCarthy, football and hurling legend, icon obviously of both sports. True icon, and certainly we'll give a good mention to him on the podcast tomorrow. Make no question about that. But yeah, let me know your opinions. Think Aaron Glan, man of the match? No question about it. He was absolutely fantastic. But yeah, let me know your opinions, your comments in the comments down below. We'll be going live after the Galway Kilkenny game, obviously, as well. Curious to see what happens there, of course. Big match as well. A bit of an anticlimax having that game after this match. I think the Munster final probably should have been second, just because I think more people were excited for this. But look, hopefully it lives up to the billing. The last couple of Leinster finals have been a bit disappointing, so hopefully this one is good. But yeah, leave a like, subscribe. We'll speak to you all soon.